Two kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the live show. And you're probably going to hear my dog. I'm just going to warn you. She's trying to come up the stairs. This is just real life. This is what happens in a real life show. That's all I'm going to say. First and foremost, and yep, you can hear her right there. So, I may have to get her. It is what it is. Actually, Moose, can you just... Yeah,
no, go take care of Spazzy, man. Take care of Spazzy.
Go ahead.
Folks, welcome to the live show, man. We're excited to have you on. Happy Tuesday to you all. I'm super excited to, of course, go over tonight's topic and lesson. But in the meantime, while Nicky takes care of the Spazzy situation... drop some comments in, man. Let me know where you're checking in from. I've always wanted to do this, by the way, where it's like we actually do more of like an interactive kind of thing with the people who are watching live, as opposed to just talking straight up and down. So we're going to get a couple of minutes of that before we jump into it. I'm feeling good today. I'm going to go ahead and just put that out there before Nicky asks. I'm feeling good. I feel really great. I'm leaving to Florida tomorrow. So y'all pray for me that we get there safely, but we get to escape this brick cold and enjoy, which I think is still cold in Florida right now. Anybody from Florida? I think it's like 40 degrees, which I'm spoiled, right? Because you leave set like weather that's in the teens and you go to 40-degree weather and you're like, well, it's not like it's 70, right? So whatever, but it's better than the teens. I'll say that. It's better than the teens. I'll say that. Shout out to y'all, though, man. I see Arkansas. Wow, Arkansas.
Did you just say Arkansas?
I think that's where that's
how you
Coach
say
Mike
it?
Shelton. Yeah, Arkansas. Did I say it wrong? How do you say it? Mike, correct us, Mike. I don't know. I've never been
I thought
there.
it was
I'm not even gonna
Arkansas,
lie.
but Arkansas.
Is it?
Arkansas.
Oh, shoot. Damn, you might be right. You might be right. Dang.
He said, and with confidence, okay, Arkansas.
Hey, if you say it, don't take it back. That's how you...
No, listen.
Arkansas. Dang, out of all the places that people put, I had to choose that one. He said, nah, that's not how you say it, player. Shoot. My bad, Mike. I said it with confidence, like, hey, Arkansas, yeah, here we go.
Woo!
You know what I'm saying? Arkansas.
Yeah.
All right, let me stop. All right, anyway. All right, it's good to be home.
Woo! Hello, people. Welcome to the live show. This is legit live. My replay people was popping. You could enjoy this live joke as well. So
Yeah, that's true. This one is evergreen. It's all right.
Yes.
Hey, listen, I'll be the first to admit, Nicky says it all the time. She got some stuff she's working through. I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I'm intelligent, but I'm not perfect. So yeah, it's all good, man. Shout out to Mike though. Mike, I've seen Brother Mike post some of his videos in the BU community though. My man doing some pretty cool things out there with his barbering businesses and the speaking. So shout out to you, man. Good to see you on here.
I think we went over your page for Game Changers, Mike. May need to watch that replay, me and Val. I'm just gonna let you know. You know what I mean? I said something dope about you. But anyways, did you say the episode drop?
I did. No, I was just
You were just
rambling.
talking.
Yeah, I was just talking. I didn't even get to that part yet. I was telling him.
Okay, so episode 70 dropped today. If you listen to it, let us know in the chat, in the comments, and make sure while you're watching this, you hit that like and share and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Do all those great, lovely things. But officially, we said it in the podcast. Officially, Tom Brady has retired. Right? There's a little lesson that you can learn there. We were unsure if we were going to speak about it because we normally record like around Friday, Saturdays. And so they said, hey, he retired, and then they took it back. And so we still talked about it. So it's still relevant. Go check it out. It's a fire episode. Moose, how are we feeling? Oh, or the ramble was how you felt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I told him I'm feeling good. Yo, Kurt, you are hilarious, bro. The fact that you listen to the podcast and you catch on to every little piece. So he's saying, say coffee. Because you know how like we joked around the last podcast, coffee. Yo,
hey,
hilarious.
It is what it is. Oh, shout out to Network with Sean. Finally got to see y'all live show again. It's been a minute. Welcome back. Hello. You know what I mean? Okay, what we talking about, Moose? What we talking about?
Man, so let me tell you. So I rarely use community members, or not community members, but just my interactions with the community as an intentional lesson. But I had multiple conversations about this interaction, and I was like, nah, I got to bring this to the light because I don't think it's just one person struggling with this. Mm-hmm. It's a variety. It's a large number of people who are having that challenge and haven't found their way around it. So, of course, you know, Tuesday live show, there's an element of personal development that we talk about because we realize without personal development, your personal brand can't reach the height that it needs to, right? Like it's just going to hit some level of wall. Like your growth is dependent on how much you grow. Mm-hmm. So there's always that part of the conversation. So anyway, yesterday we're in a community call. We're going to the breakouts and I'm listening to someone talk about their goals for the month of February. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, cool. And I realized that they spent a little too much time focused on why their style, their personality just can't allow them to manifest that goal. And it's like, there's not really a desire to change. Okay. So I'm thinking about it and I just posed the question because, you know, for me, the reason why I don't like to tell people what to do, it's because if I train you to listen to me and have or need me to tell you what to do every step of the way, then you're never going to get to a point where you can navigate the world on your own. I'd like to be there and still like give you a pat on the back, push you in the right direction from time to time, but I don't want you to train or I don't want to train you to depend on me wholeheartedly. So your confidence is only dependent upon me or whomever that other person is for you who's telling you what to do. I like to help you figure it out. It's like, hey, let me ask you some questions and get you to start thinking it out loud a little bit and see what kind of conclusion you come to. So anyway, I said, hold on. So you want to grow? And the answer was yes. I said, so you want to grow, but you don't want to change?
Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
That's not fair. That's not fair. Like you want to grow, but you don't want to change. And the current version of you is not getting you what you want. So something ain't lining up. I was just like, do we need to talk that out a little bit further? And it was like, oh no, let me change my language. I was like, you know what? We got to dive deeper into that a little bit more because now bringing it back into context of either your brand or your business, there are seasons of active growth. Mm-hmm. I would define active growth as testing things out, actively rolling things out, intentionally trying to position yourself to see if I put this one up, I'm going to do the next thing. And this is how I expect it to go. You're actively trying, like you're putting up shots daily and whatever it is, you're like you're like you're moving with a sense of urgency. You're operating with a certain level of speed. You're not taking no as a final answer. You're going. But then there's a season of passive growth where you're like, okay, hold up. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's maybe reconsider what we've done. Let's wait for things to mellow out a little bit. Maybe it's too hot right now. I don't want to be amongst the masses of everyone rolling stuff out. Let me chill. So I'm like, in both seasons, Knicks, there is no right or wrong. Like you got to know what your growth style is. Are you the active growth style, or are you the passive growth style, or the reactive growth style? But if you stick in only one style your whole life, your entire year, every season is the only style that you operate out of, you're going to stop growing because there is no change. So I want us to talk about that a little bit tonight, because I've seen I've been in that position myself now where I was in a passive growth season. I'm entering an active growth season. So I just want to talk about some of the specifics behind how do you know it's your active season or your active growth season? What do you do during the active growth season between testing certain things out, between trying to position yourself and intentionally leverage certain situations? That's an active growth season. Or again, one of those situations where it's like, oh, shoot, there's a pandemic. The world is shut down. We got to maybe slow down. Maybe that's the time to speed up. So I don't know, just let's talk about it, from your perspective. Give me your take on it as well. And let's kind of see how we help the people tonight get over this concept of expecting growth, but not wanting to change.
That's first off, can we I just bomb. I don't know if you want me to follow up after that. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, shout out to the people in the comments that was just like, yep, call over. So wrap. There's nothing more to be said. It's just, yeah, okay, what's the question? I can't. What am I supposed to go over?
Nah, let's just talk it out. No, for real though, because I'm saying, like, think about it this way. What season would you consider yourself in right now? I mean, obviously there are things happening, and that's the part that I care for you to talk about more anyway, because there's a lot going on in your season right now. And I'd love for this to be, in addition to, of course, your IG lives, but this to be a unique insight behind, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm planning, that kind of thing, almost like calling your shots before they hit. But yeah, what season would you say you're in? Like an active growth season, or more of a, let me sit back because they just coming in, so I'm not even needing to try type of thing?
No, it's definitely active. I'm not. I would have to say, even though there is momentum that's happening, it's more, what are you doing with it, than necessarily acting as like, okay, it's happening right now. Let me just chill. This is everything. Even though, like, even in the passive, I feel like even in the passive, I was active. Right? So what I mean by on an off season, I'm building and I'm creating as if it is the season. Right? So I don't know if for me there is an active and passive kind of situation. Maybe there's a season where I am, how do I put this? I am repurposing ideas. I'm repurposing content. I'm repurposing certain movements in certain seasons. Like at the end of the year, I'm for sure probably more in a passive way in order to strategize than necessarily let's come up with new things. Let's go do this. Let's take advantage of this. Let's do this. So I would say maybe definitely in December, I was in a passive situation, but right now, top of the year is really active. How intentional am I with my brand? How intentional am I with the community? How intentional, and what are some of the moves that we're creating online, offline? So yes, there's momentum, but there's active movement as well with the momentum.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny because I think I definitely ran into I don't know if it was maybe 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. 2 years ago, or either 3 years ago, where December came up and everything just stopped, and
Yeah.
I was going crazy. I was like, What is going on? Like, what? Why? Why are we not moving?" And I thought, and it was literally the first time. And it's crazy, and it just shows you like how your mind will play tricks on you, because when the environment shifts, or the things around you change, you have to adjust. So I came from running that hospitality business where December was our busiest month of the year.
Right.
We made the most money in December. We were busiest in December, and we worked the hardest in December. So up until Christmas Eve, we are nonstop running and gunning. So, and again, I talk about this idea of when you're moving subconsciously and you don't have signs, or you don't redefine things to give you some like upgrades, some alerts to say, hey, knock, knock. Hey, you can't come in here with that same mentality that worked for you over there, even if it worked. It's a whole nother story if it didn't work, but even if it worked, you can't just assume it's going to work. So I came in to one of those Decembers and I'm like, wait, something is wrong. Like, I'm expecting this to be busy. But the truth was, and that was a great lesson, Nick's, was like, yo, this is a different industry. The audience and the way people respond in this industry is not how they are in your other industry. So you got to change with the times, which is interesting. What do you recall about the pandemic? Like, because I think a couple things stick out to me when I think of 2020. Of course, I think of Kobe Bryant, and unfortunately when he passed, because we were literally in Cali and had an event that day, which is like bananas. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
But then I also think, of course, the COVID-19, the whole quarantine and pandemic situation, and then the George Floyd era. Yeah. And I feel like both of those had me definitely in passive reaction, but almost like panic of, okay, like, how long is this going to last? Like, what do you recall of your 2020 reactions? You know what I'm saying? During those two moments? Because I feel, here's my take, especially with the George Floyd situation. I feel like a lot of people were either very angry or triggered by what happened. And then there was another large group of people who were just terrified to say the wrong thing. So they were like walking on eggshells, like, okay, I don't want to say nothing. Like, I want to help, or I want to use this to show support to maybe customers of the Black community who might support my brand or business, but I don't want to say it in a way that can upset them or offend them, or I don't want to be like that other company who made some big mistakes. So it was a tricky kind of time to navigate. But what do you remember about those two moments? What was your speed, your outlook at that time?
I think the pandemic was the hardest time that I worked.
Really?
Yeah. Which is weird, for the simple fact that this was stuff I was already doing. So for my personal brand, it was stuff I was already doing. I was good. I was like, this is easy. But from an ETA standpoint, and for those who are brand new, we work with Dr. Eric Thomas / ET the Hip Hop Preacher. So when you hear ETA, we're referring to that, right? But from a ETA standpoint, this was a complete, I hate using the word, pivot from everything physical and everything live to how in the world do we figure this out? Okay, we jump on Zoom. That's all we do. Okay, how do we replace the events? Okay, changing the certifications to this. Like, it was a lot of trying to figure out on the spot kind of things, and it almost seemed like there was no rest. But that's what happens when you don't necessarily prepare for the online life. Right? So it was a lot of scrambling. Then we got it together quickly, but it was a lot of scrambling because so much was depending on live situations and gatherings and everything like that, right? So I remember that part, and then also, and this Black History Month, and I'm probably going to sound really bad saying this. However, I want to say this lightly, but impactful in the same kind of way. I think the George Floyd situation, it was more of a fed up, but nothing new, right? And I'm happy that everybody gathered around and there was actually a change that happened. But this was not new. But I think enough people were fed up. I think it was enough of evidence that you couldn't necessarily say not guilty. You know, there was a unity of, we have to share this out. Like, it's a wrap. Like, this cannot happen no more. But I don't think it was just anger out of anger. I just think it was anger because it's like, at what point, how much more evidence, how much more videos, how much more do you have to see before this truly changes, right? Now, that showed out in a lot of people. Now, you mentioned like certain businesses not really knowing how to really act with it. Yeah. And that's just any social situation, right? We're all, unfortunately, categorized in certain kind of things, right? Whether it is between ethnicity, between language, between neighborhoods, whatever it is, right? So when you cross that with businesses, it's like it's always kind of muddy water. It's like, I'm not sure. We've seen that with the LGBTQ plus community. I'm not sure. You know, seen that with the Asians. I'm not sure how to react to this. Hispanics has gotten their hits. Not really. So it's just that because of the height of it and the highlight of it, you saw more because everybody was fed up. There was protests everywhere, right? And you, as far as from a, I don't want to put this, far as from a commerce standpoint, this is where it got really, do I sell around this time? Yeah. People shut off their ads. What do I do? We were supposed to launch something. It's already the pandemic. Like, this is crazy, right? So I remember that. But I also, from a positive standpoint, I also remember the unity of the frustration, you know? Yeah. It's like you saw not just only Black people stand up for this, right? You saw all types of races, all countries, because this wasn't just a U.S. situation. You saw other countries protest about the same thing, right? Because at some point, and this is where technology is so dope, at some point, all these things that were in the dark before, all those things that we heard stories about, and this is nothing new, and now it's coming to the light because of phones and social media, and now it forces people to change. And so from a positive standpoint, that the unity and the change is what I remember with the George Floyd situation.
Yeah, that's a good summary. I'm not gonna lie, that was well rounded. You like broke down the whole year right there. That was good, Nix.
Thank you.
Good job. Wow, that was nice. Yeah. For real. No, not to joke about a serious topic, but I do remember that part where you specifically spoke about the commerce during the George Floyd situation around, okay, do I sell or not sell during that time? And just quickly too, man, shout out to everybody in the chat. Y'all are making some incredible, like, thought-provoking comments and all of that good stuff. And I love it. Ashley Schuler, of course, and doing her thing. And then there's a question in there I want to come back to from Standard Fitness Evans too. I want to come back to that in a second. But what you said about the commerce during the George Floyd situation definitely reminded me of the conversation we had on the after show of the episode that just came out today. So shameless plug, do check that out, because that was a great conversation for real. But it's a lot like we talked about with public offers and private offers. And we said we were going to come back to that too at some point. But that was a sticky situation because, and I'm going to piggy off of what Ashley said in the chat there, that a lot of people were using this as an act, right? Like they were using that as a way to maybe get more publicity or gain leverage from the community, because it's like, oh, wow, you stood up. But what I love about the audience, and I keep bringing this point up because more of us need to hear it, especially for those of us leading brands, building businesses, we need to get this part. Your customers, your audience, people in general are getting wiser. They're getting smarter. So they can see through, the strategic tactics, the sales tactics, the gimmicks. They're able to see that. So the quickest way to disqualify yourself is to try to think that you're going to leverage a situation like that to, possibly launch or use it as a launch pad for more growth or more eyes or more sales or whatever it is. Just work out of that place where it's like, yo, my customers, my clients now know, and not that they know now and they didn't know before, so it was okay back then, but now it's not. But it's just more of a challenge to step up to the plate and operate out of that place of integrity. We talk about it often, like you should not be looking to get over on people, whether they know about it or don't. But even more so, you're going to get caught quicker. I find it so funny now how companies that have been around for the 1900s, we saw a lot of them having to change their logos, change their names, change their mascots, because they were like, oh, that was tied to slavery. And it's like, yo, it took you 100 years. Like you didn't see what was happening in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s and said, you know what? Let me make the change. They don't know, but I know what it was created in. Let me just go ahead and make that change. So I'm just saying, if you're starting fresh today, if you're still in the building phase, if you're actually growing, be transparent with your audience and your customers. There's a lot of value in that, because people are going to trust you instead of possibly ruining your reputation and take you entirely out. So I want to come back to this question real quick that Standard Fitness Evans put up. Hold up, let me find it. Okay, it said, while passive, repurposing and adjusting to the times, do you just stop or still post and show up for your brand, or completely close off? Like, how do you do both? So definitely speak to that a little bit, because I know what I did. And I was just sharing, I'm not saying this the right way, but I did grow from it. And that's why I called it passive growth versus active growth. Like, you can do both. For me, I stopped entirely. Now, unlike you, Nicky, I think it started, in all transparency, it started with the George Floyd situation, because it was the first time probably ever in social media where I knew where I stood because of where I come from, more importantly, because of the community that I serve. But for the first time ever, I was like, I feel like what I say or what I can contribute is not going to be meaningful. It was a lot like that J. Cole situation. And we talked about it like very early, where he was like, yo, I just don't know that I'm the right person to lead right now.
Right.
And it really hit me right there. I'm grateful for that time, because it put me in a moment to be more studious, like to go into the books and into the movies and research and really double down, instead of just taking what this person says and that person says, flip it around real quick, put it back out as if it were yours without checking your sources, because that's the quickest way to find yourself to the exit. So that time for me, it completely shut me down. I went inward slowly but surely. There weren't many posts after. I remember specifically finding a picture of like a young child. Maybe a girl that was about 5 years old, and she was at a protest wearing traditional clothing, and she had her fist in the air. I was like, yo, that's a powerful image. And I paired that with a clip from Malcolm X. And he was talking about like, yo, despite of my growth, I'm not necessarily happy if my people are not free or are not progressing. So I paired those two together. That was around the George Floyd era. I don't think you'll find too many posts on my page after that because it like started my shutdown, but I grew tremendously over the last, say, 13 months because of what that process started. So just to go back to that question, I mean, what would you say to that, or how would you play it from your perspective too?
I'm big on staying in people's faces. Mm-hmm. I'm big on that because you make it, you make it about you and that platform, and that brand that you built is no longer about you. So when you disappear and whoever's hearing this is not towards Moose. This is just my thoughts, right? When you disappear, people are looking for you. You built trust, you built connections. And so now people are looking for that content, that presence that you had taken so long to do. And then you go ghost with no real explanation. Now, if you go and give an explanation saying, hey, I'm be out for 2 weeks. I'm be out for a month. Then people be like, cool, and they understand. Some people may not, but the people who really rock with you, who would be looking for your stuff, would understand. But I know several people that like go ghost and then come back. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's been 2 weeks. Go ghost again. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's been 4 weeks. It's like, yo, I'm about to unfollow you. Like, this is dramatic, and stop it. Like, so the best way to still stay present without straining like your mental or whatever your strategies that you needed to step away from is just use old content or use other people's content and use, and just share that. But people want the presence, and it's so much harder from a platform standpoint too. When you disappear, it not only hurts your audience, but it hurts your platform's performance, because now it's like, I can't trust you. You're not going to post. I'm going to give the reach to the people who've been showing up. So from those two reasons, I'm big on being present, but more for the community wise than the platform wise, because it's just important to not fall back because you need to strategize, or not fall back, hire a VA, or purchase one of those scheduling apps and schedule a whole bunch of stuff, whatever you need to do. But do not just completely bloop, because it's going to be so much harder to build trust from a person standpoint and trust from a platform standpoint. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. And I think it also depends on the people you got around you, man. Like, I think for me, I was very fortunate and lucky that we had a live show going. We had the podcast come up shortly thereafter. So I was able to work out a lot of my kinks while still showing up consistently, but in a different way. I wasn't consistent on Instagram, but I did not miss a live on Tuesday. Yeah. Even if there was one with a internet outage or whatever outage, we still showed up bare minimum 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. But we showed up every single day since then, since March 2020. We've consistently showed up. If we missed the Tuesday for whatever reason, we pushed you to the EYL when you launched your episode. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was always something happen on Tuesday that we could have contributed to. So I will say, I don't, you got to find out like what works for you. I do believe what Nicky's saying is super, credible and super accurate, especially if you don't have a lot of people in your corner. I was fortunate to be, with someone like Nick's, who just from the level of, say, growth that you were moving at, it stretched me to get all of the bad content out of me. It stretched me to figure out new ways to stay up to date. It stretched me to find new ways to find like how I want to maybe show up on social, what's my voice, what's my unique sound, because I feel like there were still parts of me that were still mimicking other people because of, I never took the time to really like process, what is your story? What do you stand on? What do you believe in? And that's helpful. So I'm saying, I don't know that you want to take 13 months on, say, a platform like Instagram. For me, if you're following me on my page, you haven't seen much of me there. But, on the Nicky and Moose page, shout out to the team there for helping me kind of stay somewhat relevant and making my contributions there. So I'm saying every circumstance is unique, and we really got to keep or get better at evaluating the different, our circumstance, and be able to say, okay, what's my strategy? What's my plan? And you can utilize a passive growth season or an active growth season. I'm in a place now where I'm racking up for active growth. Like it's going to be a completely upside down switch. And the funny thing is, I'm doing that in my own unique way too. It's been probably a 6-month transition that'll appear like it happened overnight or in a couple of days or in maybe a week or two. But the truth is, this final transition has taken 6 months to really manifest and build out, because I've then acquired the language and I've become convicted in my own voice. Let me share this just as a piece of practical advice for those of you who are struggling to find your own voice. If you don't know what you should talk about, what you represent, who do you want to help, any of those things, double down on what you believe in. When you don't know too much about what you believe in, it's easy to get convinced and distracted to go elsewhere. So the easiest thing I can think of is my faith, right? So if I say, hey, I'm a Muslim, and then I know very little about it, and then Nicky says, hey, there's this spot down the street, they talking about this new thing, you should go check that out. If she's persuasive enough, I might be like, yo, all right, cool, let me go check it out. Because I don't know enough about my beliefs. So I just accepted what somebody handed me as the manual for how you should believe or how you should go about it. The minute you start doing a little work, the minute you start digging a little bit deeper, the minute you start understanding what does that relationship mean? What does that belief system consist of? What are the values that you should live by if you are of that specific thing? And this doesn't have to be spiritual. It doesn't just have to be spiritual. It can relate to your business. It can relate to your brand. Think of them as the mission statement, the brand values that you represent, all of these different things. The more you study them, the more that you dig deeper into them and plant your flag into something solid, it's difficult to get convinced to move, to stop, to change direction. You can adjust, but not go in an entirely different direction. You don't just wake up one day and say, oh yeah, I no longer believe what I believed for 20 years. Yeah, I changed my mind about what I believe. I don't think it's relevant anymore. It's a new me. Not overnight. So if you're finding yourself inconsistent, if you're finding yourself just struggling to work out of a passive growth season, and it's not clicking and it's not giving you the results that you want, double down on your belief system. The minute you define like the parts of you that no longer care about other people's opinion, that's when you know that you're getting in a place that's like, ooh, okay, look out for him, look out for her, because now they're getting to a place with themselves that they're comfortable in what they're saying, they're comfortable in what they're sharing, and they're not necessarily concerned about what your reaction is. Mm-hmm. So I feel like in a lot of ways, I was being prepped in this last season so that whatever I do decide to put out moving forward, when people start making those hateful comments, I'm not gonna ball up and like, oh no, let me let me like just missing the beat and shaking up, and it's like, no. Everything that I've shared or whatever the case may be, it's coming off of a long line of study, practice. You heard our theme from the year, test before you teach. So it's like when you put the time in to do that, it becomes easy. One of my favorite things about you, Nix, when you've shared some stuff that was controversial or at least was received in a way, you would do what, a few different things, but I love when you would stand up in the comments and just be like, yo, I'm not inviting you to believe what I believe, but this is my platform and I'm entitled to share what I want to share. Where a lot of people who aren't prepared for their growth season, they'll get that backlash and automatically start questioning what they were doing and then find themselves toiling out of control. Like, oh, what happened? You weren't convicted in what you believe. You didn't know what you stand for. You didn't know what you were working toward. So you backpedaled and went out of control again. So again, for those of you in that reactive season, I'd hope to serve as an example. I don't like to talk about things before I do them, but I'd hope to serve as an example or at least push you in that direction to say, yo, double down on your belief system, get clear on what those things are, and stop just taking things for face value and be very surface level with a lot of different things, because you can get pulled and shaken up from whatever that is. I want to talk about
have a good night, people. No.
We're going to cut this one short.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another thing, failure and lack of motivation.
Okay.
Just talk about your experience if you have dealt with those, and same concept as it relates to, the different seasons, growth, active or passive.
Well, I think people who follow me for a little bit, and if you're new, welcome. I don't believe anything is a failure. I believe everything is a lesson. I don't feel like I've ever failed in my life. I feel like I made some mistakes. I feel like there has some things I could have done better, but to sit there and say that it's a failure, I'm not dead from it. There's still money in the account. There's still lights on. So I don't know how much of a failure it was, right? So I don't necessarily think anything is a failure. Now, lack of motivation, I think it always goes based off of how important it is. There has been multiple things that I've had lack of motivation to have, but it's either because I've been like super drained from it, or I just don't see the purpose in it anymore. And normally 9 out of 10 times, it's like there's a reason for that. And you got to dig deeper of why there is a lack of motivation with that. But 9 out of 10 times, life doesn't go, and this is so the opposite of where we're at as far as with certain people. Life doesn't go so much with motivation, it goes more with discipline. So I could read something and it motivates me to do something, and that's a short amount of time, and it depends on what I do that will continue that. But if it's important to me, I got to be disciplined with it. I got to make it a priority, and regardless of how I feel, because motivation is more of feeling. I feel motivated. I am motivated to do, but if I say, regardless of what happens, how I feel, this has to go. This result has to happen. This action has to happen. This, I got to see this person regardless of whatever, boom, 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 boom. Certain things I just got to be disciplined in. And that is the top of the month. What are my priorities? What it needs to happen? and the rest is cool. And if I'm motivated to do it, cool. AKA if I feel like doing it, cool. But 9 out of 10 times, I have to be, especially in active growth, I have to be disciplined to go towards the growth, go and maximize on everything that needs to be done and needs to be taken advantage of in this active growth season. If not, I feel whatever I feel and keep it moving.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Discipline. This might be slightly out of context, but it's okay. We got out of context a little bit.
Yeah.
What about people and or people who, I want to say disappointments, but people who disappoint you? And I know in the past we've talked about expectation. We've talked about all that as like the cure to disappointments. But, let's have fun. I don't know.
Okay. I see what you're
Talk
trying
about
to
that
do.
a little bit. Yeah, talk about that a little
part?
bit.
What part? What do you...
Yeah.
Look, this is Moose's way of, okay, we need some transparency. Let me ask her a question that she'll know should go in.
Right. That's exactly that's the code for,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All right, give us a little more now.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I've learned so much, and it's crazy, man. There's like an old saying that says, one of the oldest people who lived, like ever, was asked, how much did you learn, or how long, or like, what was your experience like on earth? And he said, I felt like I walked in through this door and out of the other. Like it's like, yo, you lived that long, and boom. It's like, regardless of how much you learn, you've only learned but oh so little. And every time I get to like a good season of my life, I'm like, bruh, it is a wrap. There is nothing more I need to know about people. And then in comes another lesson, and I'm like, yo, you gotta be kidding me.
Right.
You have got to be kidding me. So a part of it is discipline. I'm not gonna lie. It's the discipline to know, like, every new chapter that you enter, lean on the people who've been there previously to ask them, like, yo, so what's the weather like in this part of town? What's the speed limit and the traffic laws? And of course, I'm using these terms loosely to talk about, like, yo, what's the environment like? Like, how do people interact, move, and treat each other in here? Instead of walking into a new space automatically thinking you can own it. You can to some extent, but I think the more information that you gather, the better positioned you'll be. So I'm feeling like every time I enter a new season, I'm learning stuff about people, and I'm like, okay, I see what's happening. It's time for me to gather another lesson. So I'm trying to like finalize this last piece around. So what's the word when it comes to dealing with people who disappoint you, people who don't meet your expectation? I feel like expectations are important because they lay a level of groundwork. They lay a standard of, hey, this is, if you want to rock, this is the level that you should at least be able to contribute to, because that's the standard, in this area. But time after time, when you start getting disappointed, when you feel like maybe you're the only one working, when you feel like, things are just not happening cohesively, different people have different ways of dealing with that. What's your way of doing it? What's the way that works? Tell us the way that works.
What's the way when you deal with disappointment?
Yeah.
Or
like how have you done it, I guess?
I've learned not to have expectations.
What
No
about
one
the
can
standard,
meet.
though.
That's the standard and expectations is two different things.
But I'm saying, like, as part of a standard, you start to trust that, like, this is what you're going to deliver on.
Facts. But here's the thing. I can only control me, and I know what I can do, what I can't do, and I can't put that level of expectations that I have for myself and that drive that I have for myself and the standards on anybody else, because no one else is made like me. So we can only hope that we are enough as communicators to express the standards, to emphasize on the need of this to happen. However, it is important to us. It is important to the individual. You can't expect the same importance all the way through. I can't do that. Regardless if it's in a business situation, in a relationship situation, you can only hope that you are blessed with people who at least get a percentage of what is important to you, a percentage of what is needed to be done, right? But there is always going to be something, whether it's a project, whether it's, something you have to do. There's always something that you are going to be disappointed in if you have expectations, because it's your expectations. Unless you had the conversation of like, this is what it's supposed to happen. Are we all in agreement? Let's talk about, like I said, communication. If this is talked about all the time, everybody's aligned, this, that, and the third, you see patterns that, okay, they understand it, then you can be a little bit more aggressive with it, but still, no human being, I feel, based off my experience, could ever meet your expectations. Like, no one could ever meet my expectations. I'm now more grateful than necessarily angry or upset or frustrated anymore, because I'm grateful that you spent time on this. I'm grateful that you reached out. I'm grateful that you eventually did it. I now adjust and see, okay, like, I'll put it this way. I have a person that I know, if I need something done and it's important, I tell them probably a week out, knowing darn well they could get it done that day. I probably tell them a week out, because even though it has been said, this is important, we're all doing this together, whoop-de-woo, nothing, how do I put this? It will always be more important to me than anybody else. So I can't expect anybody to move with the same urgency as me, because other people have lives. Other people have priorities. Other people have beliefs, values, things like that will distract the expectation. And who are we to say this is more important than that? You see what I'm saying? So, like, I'm more of a grateful person of, hey, you looked out, you did this, you did that. I can control what I can control and adjust with the results that you've given me. I know, okay, this is dope. You think it's dope, but you're not putting the same energy. What energy can you do? What do you do? Let me pay attention to what the level that you do give it, and I will adjust with that so the result can be done. Because at the end of the day, I just need the result to be done. That's it. So I'll match you before I get frustrated you trying to match me.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, because I think of like some examples and maybe some extreme examples, but I think of how some of the greats, the goats, right, have maybe empowered the people around them, and they pulled them to new heights that individual at some point probably didn't even believe they were possible for themselves. And because of what was made available to them, because of the example that was set for them, it started making them feel like, hold up, maybe I'm not pushing hard enough. Maybe I'm not seeing the full vision or the full possibility of what can be done here. So it automatically elevated the game. And I guess it's a lot like what we started the call with when I ask, or when I see people wanting growth but not willing to change. It's the same concept in that dynamic. And then when it's not reciprocated, I think that's where it becomes a little bit difficult to maintain. So I'm noticing now that to some extent, definitely the gratitude part of, okay, I'm grateful that this level of contribution was made, or whenever I'm disappointed, just in general, because I don't want to make it seem like it's specific to one area, but I think we don't live in a world by ourselves. So we can't navigate the business or any part of this even experience with just us, right? It's like, okay, yep, I know at some point I'm going to have to partner with someone. I'm going to have to rely on someone. I'm going to have to work on it. But bad examples will make you make a lot of mistakes because it's like you take something that, oh, this is how you get it done. And you push and push and push till something breaks. And you're like, oh, but I thought pushing made it better. It just broke. And it's like totally different situations. But no, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that there is necessarily a one size fits all type answer or a right answer for this. But I do think, you know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to disappointments of other people. Yeah. That's something that'll shake up, hold you back, make you lose motivation, energy, whatever the whole thing is, because you're like, dang, I put so much energy, I put so much thought into this, and you feel like diffused to some extent. So at the end of this.
But what I'll say, even in that situation where somebody wanted to change and, you know, they don't want to change, like they want better, but they don't want to change, and you see it in them, but they still not doing it. That's just them. You see, like we always see, I'll put it like this. We always see more in people than what they see in themselves. This is facts. So, in which does also bring unrealistic expectations to the individual. Because they don't see it. You said I could, like, I know you want me in this position. I know you want me to make this much. I know you want me, but I don't see it in myself. And I have to match that for that to happen. But you're already 3-4 steps ahead of me. You either guide me to the level that you see me in, and then I can execute on the stuff that is needed. Or I move on my own pace, and then years from now, I'm like, oh, I get what you see. This is crazy, you know? So that's why I'm big, like, I'm big on, like, just grateful, because you clearly don't see what you could do. You don't see how quick you are, or how intelligent you are, or how efficient you are. You clearly don't see that. I do. And so that's why I raise the bar for you. I get upset with you sometimes. I get but now it's like, I gotta wait for you to see it. Or I got to guide you for you to see it. And that requires patience, which is something I'm still learning. Because I don't have that much. Even though my mom will tell me different. You have so much patience now. This is great. But if I guide them, if I wait for them, either or. But you can't want something more than that individual. You can't. You will always get disappointed. You will always. I learned about expectations from a failed marriage. That will teach you about expectations. Quick, fast, in a hurry. Oh, what? This is what I thought it was supposed to be. This. Where did you even get that from?
I think the way I summarize it is, it's not even having expectation. It's that person, even or people in general. Mm-hmm. And I've done this, by the way. Like, to some extent, I'm talking about myself here, because I realized maybe 18 months ago or so ago, I said, it's time to start moving like an executive. And there were some inconsistencies in my schedule and how I ran my life that were not executive like. So I'm almost telling on myself to some extent here as well. But I guess when it relates to other people, it's that same concept. It's the inconsistencies of what you can naturally produce.
Yeah.
It's not saying, hey, you could produce a 7. I'm asking you for an 8.5, and you don't meet that 8.5, and I'm mad at you. It's like, oh, you got a 7? Okay, bet. I'm gonna call you every time I need a 7. But if I get 6, 6.7, 6.2, 7, 5, 6, 6.4, it's like,
right.
Okay, so how do you delegate when, so I think that's the part of it that I think, it just requires some thought. But I do like what you said. Definitely great gratitude or being grateful is definitely part of it. But there's people, work on yourselves first, because I will say, as I've elevated my game, I've noticed I've made it uncomfortable even for the people in my own household, because they were like, oh, dang, you're not compromising? Oh, you're not going to snooze? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're not going to, oh, you're still going to the gym? Mm-hmm. Oh, so it becomes uncomfortable without having to be like, hey, come on. Like, hey, no, you gotta keep. And I'm just like, yo, why are you telling people you're a leader instead of just leading?
Facts.
If you're a leader, you don't got to tell people you're a leader. You don't got to ask them to follow you. Just lead them and they'll follow. So that's, I think that's my part with disappointment. Yeah. Thanks for helping me talk that out. That's good. Your gratitude, and then lead, don't ask. That's good.
Listen, people. Appreciate y'all watching. You know what I mean? Make sure you like and you comment and you live on this chat, or if you're watching this replay, comment what you thought about the show. We are on Fanbase, people. Go follow us on Fanbase. We're dropping after show clips on there that you can't find anywhere else, right? Go, of course, subscribe, review, rate the podcast. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Moose, appreciate the great conversation.
No, for real. Thank you.
This was good, buddy. This was good. Anyways, we already dropped the video. Normally, we do, like, at the end of a dope premiere, but it was Tom Brady. We launched it when they said he officially retired. So go back, watch that. It was really dope lesson about the definition of greatness. Really dope clip. So we're out. We love you guys. You know what we're going to say.
Later, y'all.